voix, c'est choix nous.
Tu voz es nuestra elección.
Ta voix, c'est notre choix.
The voice of Florida.
La voz de la Florida.
Your voice is our choice with Dr. Karen Green.
Good morning, blessings. Welcome back to another feature program of The Voice of Florida here in the state of Florida, where we have Your Voice is Our Choice. I'm honored this morning we'll be having two special guests. And the first guest this morning is one who has been not just a leader in the state of Florida, but one who's been a friend, a mentor, and one who's come to be known as, here in the state of Florida, we refer to her as the P Factor. Known to be one of Orlando's Oprah, Dr. Hope, and she's a previous candidate who ran for the House of Representatives. As I said, I've known this minister, a woman of God, for a very long time, and her repertoire and her will tell you so much more about her. Recognized as one of the international ministers, the Pam Powell Ministry, she and her late husband, who I must still tell you is one of those gentlemen who is still remembered in our community. A veteran television personality she is, a host, former model, a host of her own program network on the YouTube channel. She also hosts, previous prestigious awards, having received the Lifetime Achievement Awards. She's been recognized within our Democratic Party as, a real contributor. And she currently holds, her role as a faith leader in the state of Florida. I must tell you, one of the recent projects we worked on was prior to Hurricane Milton. We led a statewide faith call, a powerful faith call ahead of Milton, where we brought all the faith leaders across the state representing every denomination, faith, and fellowship. And I must tell you, my sister Pam, Dr. Powell, your prayer was one that went to the throne. It was so powerful. And we're here this morning just to give thanks for life, for having survived not just one, but two hurricanes in the state of Florida. Milton, as you know, did so much damage, and the death toll is still rising. However, what was expected to be a Category 5, a Category 4 traumatic storm, the impact was nothing to compare to what we all braced ourselves for in the state of Florida. And so this morning we're giving thanks. We're mourning the loss of those who were in path of, but we're really grateful this morning that we can even be on TV with electricity and flow, and just knowing how much has happened. Dr. Pam Powell, without any further ado, I just want to welcome you to the Voice of Florida, where your voice is our choice, and we're honored to have you here this morning. Please introduce yourself, my beloved sister. How are you?
Well, Doctor, I am just so honored to have the opportunity to be in your presence again. I admire you. You're doing such an incredible job, Dr. Karen, and you are everywhere. And I want to, again, thank you and give God the glory for giving me the opportunity to be here. And as you mentioned, I'm known as Orlando's Oprah. I'm the hope doctor. So what I do is I inject hope by any means necessary. I'm always about inspiring, empowering, and motivating people to let them know that no matter what their circumstances may be, that their setback is a setup for their comeback. So I am just completely in awe of all the things that you do. And I really, when we talk about the P factors, and hopefully we'll be able to get into that, but that is all about allowing people to understand the principles.
Yeah.
And I have a couple books on that that will allow people to experience the thrill of victory rather than the agony of defeat in their life. Because we're either going into a problem or coming out of a problem, but the way we get through it is by being a P factor. So being that I had the opportunity to work on President Obama's campaign, my Lifetime Achievement Award was presented from his organization, President Obama, to travel the world, to be able to be on stages of 50,000 people or more while motivating them brings joy to my heart, because that's what my calling is all about.
Thank you, Dr. Pam, for continuing to do your mission. You know, I'm modest I didn't get into your resume, because once we get into this interview, people get to know you, that you are, in fact, a staple of our community or state and a woman of pride. And in all honesty, at this time in life, there's so much to celebrate. We're wearing pink in solidarity because this morning and this month in the state of Florida, as you know, across the world, this month is recognized for cancer survivor, those particularly who have succumbed to breast cancer, not succumbed, but survived it for breast cancer. My sister here is one who not only survived once, but she has a testimony to tell you and to show you that she too, I welcome you this morning on the program, my sister, as a cancer survivor. Please, how are you, my sister? What can you tell folks right now listening to having heard the news you have cancer for breast cancer? Tell them what the encouragement is, because I know you bring hope to so many.
Well, to be honest with you, when you hear the word cancer, no matter whether it's breast cancer, any form of cancer, it's almost like you got a death sentence. I'll be perfectly honest. As a woman of faith, when I was diagnosed, I was a minister of the gospel, all those kinds of things. But it's just something about that word. And then it just leaves you in a state of, oh my God, am I going to live or I'm going to die? So it's all about the attitude, because your attitude determines your altitude. And when I went through it and came out of it, that's when I wrote the book, because our mess becomes our message. And I will tell you this, Dr. Green, I had breast cancer not once, not twice, but 3 times. I am a 3-time breast cancer survivor.
Thank the Lord.
So I give God the glory. And all I can say is we go from pain to purpose.
Yes, yes. And I can tell you right now, Dr. Pam, you know, one of the things I've come to realize is that people, when you faced that, you see, once you've gone to that point of survival, life is not the same. Your purpose is becoming so purposeful. I too am a 30-year cancer survivor, not of breast cancer, but of uterine cancer, which is why I'm wearing my uterine cancer pin today. You know, just imagine. Wow. We're all here today, and like you know, you hear that and you've gone through it. You get that message as a young Black woman, to hear that when the survival rate for us is usually not very, very promising. But life has changed, and for us in this country today, which is one of the reasons why I have my own political preference, as you all know, is that I am a Democratic Party candidate, one who served in this capacity. But because of what this Democratic Party had proposed, you and I know that cancer research and the interest of somebody who is sensitive to cancer, anyone who leads knowing that there's a need for healthcare, knowing that there's a need for cancer research and is sensitive to it, is kind of where my trust and my troll is. Dr. Pam, you've written a few books, you've hosted a few programs, you yourself host a program, but today's 22 days until the November 5th election. And the nominee that we've chosen to represent, to have us lead our party, or Vice Chair Kamala Harris, her mother also succumbed to cancer, one who was a cancer researcher. And this morning, I'm just saying to you, this is an opportunity for us to appeal to everyone across the globe not only those who have experienced cancer, but those who've been caretaking for cancer survivors and those who just experience cancer in any form. Talk to us today, sister. Encourage our viewers that it's not just our faith that carried us, but it was the positive P attitude that you speak about so much, the P hope. Tell us what is needed, my sister. Give us
absolutely. Well, the first thing we got to do is when we got a situation, we got to put our boxing gloves on. we got to get ready for the fight. So when I think about that, it's about knocking breast cancer.
Oh my gosh.
That's right.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. So not mentally. Put on my boxing gloves and let the world know that the devil is a liar. Let's talk about this, because when you think about the P factors, there are 8 P factors. It was 7, but now I've moved on to 8. And they're very, very simple. The first thing in life, that whatever our situation may be, we got to look at it that we're going to come out like Job, because P factor 1 says be positive. So, doctor, as a man or woman thinketh in his heart, so is he. So look at Job. None of us had all the problems that Job had. I mean, all his children died. He was sick. He lost everything. But the bottom line, the Bible says in Proverbs 23:7, that as a man or woman thinketh in his heart, so is he. So if you think you can, you can. So what I tell everybody, I will win. Why? I tell you why. Because I have faith, courage, and enthusiasm. Today I'll meet the right people in the right place at the right time for the betterment of all. I see opportunity in every challenge. I'm terrific at remembering names, and I never listen to anybody more messed up than I am. I'm a winner. I'm a contributor. I'm an achiever, and I believe in God and me, because with him all things are possible. Now, let me know if I can go on to P factor number 2, because P factor number 1 ought to fire you up. I'm alive, I'm awake, and I feel great.
Please give us number 2. You know, we're going to move into a second segment, but give us number 2. Give us something else. The punch, the power, and keep going, sister. Give us 2 more.
Okay, first, the second one is you got to be passionate. You know, whatever it is, you got to be passionate that you're going to be cured, that you're going to get through. You got to be passionate even about voting right now. A lot of folks say, I'm not going to vote. No, you need to get out there and vote, because our ancestors died for that right. So you got to be passionate, persistent, patient, prayerful, and you will be powerful. And when you do those things, you'll be faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive. You'll leap your enemies in a single bound, and you will end up being purposeful. That's what it's all about. We got to get involved in changing the lives of others. And how do we do that? By leading by example. If you think you can, you can. If you think you won't, you won't. It's time to win. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty Dumpty back together again, because Humpty Dumpty needed the P factor.
Wow. Pam, my sister Pam Powell, one of the most powerful, enthusiastic, energizing speakers you could ever have in a room. You know, we had recently, I moderated a part of the NAACP Black Caucus event, and Sister Pam Powell was there, tore the house down, because you see her here fashionably, always having an impression and walking a room with a beam of light. Dr. Powell, tell me, I know you are currently in the Orlando area, and in your capacity at St. Mark's Church, I believe it is. Recently, you also celebrated the anniversary of your pastor. Now, I know you have been at this. I know you've been involved in civic engagement, having run for office yourself. But tell me right now, what is it that drives you today, this day? What keeps you going?
Well, to be perfectly honest with me, what keeps me really going is giving others hope. Because when I look at the world today, it's all about pushing others up. Because when we push others up, God takes us up. So I have a calling on my life, and that particular calling appoints me and anoints me to do the work. Just like when we even talk about cancer and all that. Do you know that I was looking at the statistics and it showed that in this year alone, that 310,000 women are going to be diagnosed with breast cancer, 2,800 men, and that 42,000 people are going to die from the disease. The devil is a liar. So we got to make sure we get our mammogram. That's what fires me up. Another thing that fires me up is getting people hope, because people are depressed and down and out. But if they can just understand, if they can just believe that they're going to get through it, and in order to get through it, they got to continue to get out there and put those boxing gloves on, and they got to continue to fight. And they got to look and say, hey, somebody's going to win, somebody's going to lose, but hello, tell the enemy it is going to be me that's going to win. And what I do, I tell everybody, put your sunglasses on. And tell the enemy, come on, that your future is going to be so bright, you got to wear shades. That's all I'm saying.
Wow.
And you know, I write books about it, like the 7 Principles of Overcoming Obstacles. You know, I'm a widow. I've gone through a lot. I tell folk I've been broke, busted, and disgusted. I robbed Peter to pay Paul. They both ran out of money. I ran for office and didn't win, but it's still power to the people. It's still the fact that there are people out there that believe in the things that I believe in, and regardless of whether I got elected or not, I got in the fight, and I'm fighting for those now so they can go out there and win and make sure that our country is in a better place.
Wow, Dr. Powell, I told folks that you are, in fact, one of the most powerful, energizing, presentable women I've known, come to know in this industry. Dr. Pam, we have a situation now where the news and the community, and right now the polls are showing that our Black men are not voting right now as Democrats. And I know you are a native Floridian, if I'm not mistaken, based on your bio. I think I remember reading that you were from here, having gone to even your local high school. Dr. Powell, what is causing Black men not to come to us? Better yet, let's not ask the how. How can we engage our Black male voters? The statistic is showing that the men under 45 primarily are the ones who are not voting or wanting to support our Democratic nominee, Kamala Harris. What can we do today in messaging to our young Black men on a whole, to remind them, as you said earlier, that not only our ancestors, but history has us knowing that as Black people, our civil rights, voting rights was protected by many of our ancestors. Dr. Pam, today, how can we appeal to this demographic of Black men who are choosing even not to vote or not to support this candidate? More so, supporting the former president, 45.
Well, this is my thought on that situation. I think that we, as a whole, need to embrace our Black men more and more, because there's been a lot of focus on Black women in this country as leaders and all of that. And I think a lot of our Black men, to be perfectly honest, have been forgotten. We have a high incarceration rate, different things of that nature. And so I think the community needs to come together. I think even churches, if all the churches get together and start having conferences to bring the brothers in, to bring the men in and have a candid talk, find out what their feelings are. And once we begin to do that and embrace them and show them love, because you hear all the negative stuff, you hear all the things about our brothers and all of that. I love our brothers. They're kings in my eyes. Right. And I think that we need to treat them as kings and make sure that they are part of all of our conversations, and that we, even as sisters, got to begin to push them up to make them feel that they're very special. And I believe that that could make a difference. I even think that perhaps, President Kamala Harris, I know she's doing calls and conferences and all of that, but I think it would be a great thing to have a big round table nationally with as many African-American men. I think barbershops and places where they go, there should be a conversation about this so that we can help them to get out there and see why they need to vote, why they need to support this ticket?
Well, I know that the ground game engagement is doing some of these things you just described.
That's awesome.
Keep in mind that we're talking about a candidate who's it's been less than 4 months since she's taking this role in this capacity as the nominee. To your point, and I strongly agree with you, I think because of economics, or Black men who have been, the Black women have been getting the credit for steering the Democratic Party for a very long time. But keep in mind that because our Black men were working, in most cases, the Black women were the ones who were not only taking care of the domestic issues, but also holding the family from behind the lines. And that meant even going to the polls ahead of the man, right? So in all fairness, the Black woman has taken a lot of the credit, but I've also said it's not just having a good woman behind a man, it's having a good man beside the woman.
Absolutely.
So I really feel the messaging we need to, I take your recommendations. I think we need to be having these ongoing civic conversations within our communities, within our churches, within our social clubs. And we need to create opportunities that appeal to men, because things that you and I will sit around to talk about, men don't necessarily have time for that. They're not built around those priorities, right? So today, while I'm seeing all these news reports coming in, I'm just saying, how do we reach to the men that are not in churches? How do we speak to folks to remind them that this vote is so critical? Because
go ahead.
Because we really do need to know, and I'm open to your recommendations as you just imposed. What else do we need to do? Our next guest is going to be one who is coming from that demographic as well. And tell me right now, Dr. Pam, before we bring him on, we're going to bring him on and then we're going to go to break. But tell me, what do you think today, you and I, talking to all the men in our viewing audience, we love you, we respect you, and we need you to help us win this race. But you talk to them, Dr. Pam, in your empowering way of asking these Black men, Bail voters, to join this fight, to lead us through to this election cycle.
Well, what I would want to say to the Black man that is watching your show today is, first of all, I would want them to know that we love them. And without our brothers, we wouldn't even be on this earth. But I would want them to reflect on their own mother that brought them into this world, that nurtured them, took care of them, and taught them and helped them to be the man that they are. And that was a woman. There are a lot of men, to be perfectly honest, even me as a pastor, preacher, even churches that don't feel that a woman should even be a pastor or a leader.
It's true.
And I think there's been a lot of stereotyping all the way from the beginning of time. I would suggest that men pull out their Bibles and see that there were a lot of women. Barak would say in the Bible that he would not go without Deborah. And I think that if we look at how the mother pretty much kept that household together and ran, and there are a lot of single mothers out there that are doing the role of the male and the female. If women can do all that, they certainly can become the next president of the United States of America. So we need to stop looking at a woman as just being that domestic body, but as that leader. When we begin to think about even Harriet Tubman, was Harriet Tubman that brought us out. Come on now, let's talk about Mary McLeod Bethune. Let's begin to research the history of Black women from the Bible on, and let's begin to understand that they are chosen ones. There was even a woman that was at the tomb when Jesus came out. That's all I got to say.
And the sermon is landed. This morning, as I mentioned, our guest this morning is the Honorable and our precious Dr. Pam Powell, one who has been steering in her own capacity this leadership. We just got joined by the Honorable Corey Scherer out of Broward County. Welcome, my brother.
God bless you, sir.
We'll be going in.
Good morning. And I echo your sentiments, Dr. Powell. As we know, in our society, in our African roots especially, very matriarchal, women have played such an amazing role, but also in our religion and in our religious histories. And more importantly, none of us would be here if it wasn't for our mamas, the woman that gave us birth. So women are powerful in our communities, and even the womb itself is connected to God.
Amen. Amen.
So give thanks for women.
Amen.
Especially our Black women,
Oh, Corey, I'm so honored to have you here. Before we go into commercial, Corey, your mother too, God rest her soul, was another matriarch.
Amazing. I have her here on to remind me on my wall all the times,
In her own right.
She recognized new voters and
She was one who wouldn't take a minute. Even when she was passing away, she was still doing engagements to make sure she had her reach. We'll get into the biography of our brother Corey Scherer, but Corey, thank you for being here. I'm watching my station guide, because you know how this goes. Our producers are today virtual. We're all on the road. For most of us, I am still traveling, as you know. But Corey, welcome to our program. We're graced to have you in South Florida in Broward County, and Dr. Pam Powell in Orlando in Central Florida. And
right.
I'm so honored. Both of you are NAACP members. And so right now we're going to go into our first break. We got to have that money coming in. So at this moment, we're going to go the first segment of The Voice of Florida, where your voice is your choice. We'll take our first break. See you on the other side.
Reimagine a world where the Caribbean is seamlessly connected, where our people, our cultures, and our economies move freely across the islands. This is Connect Caribbean, more than a ferry service. It's the heartbeat of a new era, an era where economic opportunities expand, where trade flows freely across our seas, and cultural exchange flourishes. We are linking businesses, empowering communities, and reigniting the hope for a truly integrated Caribbean. Together, we're shaping a brighter, more unified future for the Caribbean. Connect Caribbean, connecting our islands, our people, our future.
With the Bloomberg Small Business Report, I'm Nancy Lyons. Small business owners are holding their collective breath ahead of the presidential election. The National Federation of Independent Business Optimism Index edged up slightly in September after declining in August by the most in more than 2 years. The group's uncertainty index rose to a record high as small business owners await the outcome of the November election. 3 of the 10 components that make up the optimism index fell, while 5 increased and 2 held steady. The share of firms planning capital expenditures slid by 5 points to 19%. That's the lowest reading since April of 2023. Some 34% of firms reported job openings that they couldn't fill. That's the smallest share since the start of 2021. The top concern for small business owners continues to be inflation, with 23% saying that was their most important problem. That's a 1-point improvement from August. That's the Bloomberg Small Business Report.
Welcome to our TV network, your ultimate destination for all things exciting and essential. From mouth-watering food to the latest in fashion, health, education, music, movies, and news, plus thrilling sports and breathtaking travel, our TV network brings it all to you. Tune in today and experience the best of every world, all in one place, RTV.network.
The Voice of Florida. Your voice is our choice, with Dr. Karen Green.
Wow, c'est choix nous.
es nuestra elección.
Welcome back to the second segment of The Voice of Florida, where your voice is our choice. Our special guests today are with us. We're so honored to have both of them. Dr. Pam Powell, the P Factor, Florida's Hope Love Doctor. And we have the Honorable Corey Shera in Broward County, one of my longtime friends and advocates in so many capacities. Dr. Corey, Corey, you are in fact a Georgetown alumni, one who stirs your college loved ones across the globe. But more importantly, your role in the state of Florida has been for the NAACP, Black engagement, and primarily your faith. You serve in the interfaith capacity as well as, and you're representing the Muslim faith. You currently are leading in the Emerge coordinator, I think it is for the state of not national.
Engaged now.
Engaged, right. So tell us a little about you, and without anything else, I tell you why I know this young man. Corey doesn't tell folks this, but Corey's father was the Prime Minister of Jamaica. The Honorable Hugh Shearer many years ago was one of the prime ministers of our great nation.
Awesome. My
birthland. We are American Jamaicans, American Caribbeans.
American, right? Yes.
Right. Welcome, my brother.
I'd like to say I was built by labor twice. Labor, LABOUR. In my dad's party, Jamaican Labor Party, and then of course the labor of my mom that came here to be born into this world. God bless Jasmine Barnaby. But I'd say a famous dad, infamous mom, because she really raised me to be outspoken, to see the value in others, and she was somebody who really tried to highlight voters. She found ways to give people names that would really highlight their value in times that they needed that kind of strength. And she was really into voting and being active in the system. And I think that's really what's called upon us now. We have a great, tremendous opportunity. We have in Kamala Harris, right? You have somebody who is, connects to so many different parts of us, right? So many of us are connected to Greeks. I'm part of the Foreign Service fraternity, but I was raised by Omega Psi Phi men, I want to say, and have had active Kappa, Alpha Psi, and from Congressman Hastings to Lieutenant Colonel Thaddeus Hamilton, who courageously ran for Secretary of our Commissioner of Agriculture here in Florida. But, Deltas, right, who've done so much in my life, from Grace Carrington, as we know even now, but all the way down to Miss Hankerson and, Dottie Thomas and Frankie Thomas, and so many other people. And she really embodies that, right? But then also you have the Asian Americans who are really out there being active. They're even donating and getting people working on knocking doors and making those phone calls. And then of course Caribbeans. You have our father there that's still in Jamaica, and I think Caribbeans kind of feel that. And then she is a Black woman, and so this is a moment that we have. That we can really embrace the system. I think we should all be both proud but also courageous in speaking to our neighbors, speaking to especially young people, right, who demonstrate, sometimes civically engage and in civic disobedience, right, but yet then they don't go and vote. And so when we have more than half of our voters 65 and over, and maybe another 30% that are within 30 to 65 years of age, it's really incumbent on us, those of us who vote and are older, regardless of where you fall in that age spectrum, right? And I'm getting closer to the latter. It's incumbent on us to really speak to these young people and get them to be more confident, right? Voter confidence, get them informed, get them to feel proud to vote and understand the value of that vote. Okay.
Corey, I want to take this opportunity.
That people died, by the way. We can say this is something that has value. I don't need to talk to you about the blood for it, but your vote has value. Yeah.
Corey, I want to interject for a moment because I just want to bring us to where we are as well. You're right in choosing our nominee who has these 5 cultural engaged, collaborative personalities, sense, opportunities, cultural experiences. Not only does she have that kind of origin where she has all this rich immigrant collaborative experience, but she is an intellect. She is a genius, one who has experienced and lived that immigrant life, to have lived the American dream. And so we're saying to so many, the question was posed this morning on one of our networks, is this in fact, why are we not having the support she needs from Black men? Or is it, a lot of times do we have to understand that people push the narrative of propaganda where it doesn't exist? But we're asking you today, Corey, what is it that is causing young Black men not to support our nominee?
Okay, well, listen, I think it's the latter rather than the former. I think this narrative is being spun. Let's first of all say that, white and even white Democratic women have apologized over and over for voting in Donald Trump, right, in 2016. There's white women that didn't support Hillary Clinton, and she didn't appeal to them for whatever reason.
True.
But on top of that, as we're saying, most young people aren't voting, right? So if you're telling me that young Black men aren't supporting, most young men and young people aren't supporting anyone in reality when it comes to actual voting and who they're going to vote for. So I don't think that narrative, you can spin it different ways. But I would say that there are Black men that I know who have overcome many obstacles, right, in their life. They could list them. I mean, some of them you'd say would be debilitating, and they shouldn't have made it to where they have made it. But once they've made it, they kind of identify with that kind of upward narrative, of kind of the conservative, Republican business, parts of our populace. But the reality is that there's so many liberals, right, that also are successful and pull themselves up by the bootstraps, not using government funds in order to get there. And when they do so in legal ways that benefit the entire community. So I just think sometimes it's more misinformed with some of our younger Black, some of our young Black people. But I have to tell you, the overall, our Black males, especially on college campuses, they are socially conscious, right? They are very tuned in. I think that they know when the fix is in. They understand that really, Kamala Harris is a really engaging story, but also that, the history of Donald Trump and those that know him, who've worked for him, and many who, I know people, they have a fancy car and they're doing real well in life and their generations are set up, but they'll tell you, don't trust Donald Trump. I think that our people get that our young people get that. I don't think that we should really latch onto this narrative, that Black men aren't supporting. We'll wait and see what the numbers are. But from what I hear and talk to my friends, so many of Black men that I speak to, they're proud. They feel a sense even of duty. We're protective of our Black women, and we come, like I said, from Black women. Like I said prior, there's no denying that, right? And Black women play such an important role in our families, right? Not just Sunday dinner, right? But making decisions for us as young people all the way through our lives. That I think that Black men will get it right and have it right. I hate to target them in this way. Yeah.
Thank you for that emphasis, Dr. Pam and I. One of the things that we were saying earlier is that, in fact, a lot of it had to do with just the misinformation that these Black men have, and primarily economics. So here's one of the things that Donald Trump did in his while he was there in the 45th presidential seat. During the COVID crisis, if you can all recall, that stimulus check, where he had his signature signed on this check as if Black men were cashing his checks or federal funding that was going to them. I still hear people talking that during his presidency, they got this money from the president, right? And so just think for a minute that people are still feeling that there were opportunities, financial opportunities for him, from him, that they received. But that what people tend to forget is that Donald Trump, number one business accolade has always been a marketing guru. That's what he does. That was what he did in making sure that his signature, that people could actually refer to that today.
And that actually held up the money. So people need to know that story, that he held up the money to get that signature on there.
Let us be clear as well. Dr. Pam, are you hearing from young Black men that they never had any kind of that, better yet, that Donald Trump promises to do more for them and they're believing it? Dr. Pam.
I hear, can you hear me? I
Yeah.
hear a lot of young Black men speaking and so forth. And I even watch the news a lot. And to be perfectly honest, I am just shocked at some of the comments that they're making where they're talking about they are going to vote for Donald Trump. They talk about the economy was better, the gas prices was lower, the grocery was lower under Donald Trump. And as you mentioned, they got that stimulus check. But again, I still believe that there are a lot of men, whether they be young African-American men or even those that are older, that still feel that the woman should not have the role of a president. And I think that we have to combat that. And the only way that's going to happen is through conversations. I've watched the polls and I've looked at the polls and I'm seeing those numbers. But to be honest, it's not just African-American men. It's men in general that a lot of times don't believe that a woman can run a country, can deal with war and rumors of wars and all of that. So we have to break down that stereotyping of women in general.
And if they believe that women aren't strong, they didn't go to my middle school, because we had most of the women were the ones that, wouldn't let things go, and they were definitely the ones who were the warriors.
Well, absolutely, we're very strong.
And I'm glad they continue that into
their adult. Women are very,
adult.
very strong, but we got to be able to reflect that through our conversations.
You're right, Corey. I think if there's ever a peacemaker, it's a mother in a large family and a grandmother in a community. And so if anybody thinks for a moment that a woman doesn't have the ability, the aptitude, the ability to negotiate, the ability to pacify, the ability to basically bring a different value to each person, to deputize, to give every child a role and a responsibility in a family, more so in an organization. I was also looking at the statistical numbers recently of companies where there's so many women who are CEOs, CFOs, COOs in our country. More so,
unbelievable amount,
unbelievable numbers
within Microsoft, Google. By the way, Black women, right?
I'm just
in
saying
Google,
that.
in Microsoft, But listen. I just want locally. We have, Carrie Meek, right? We have Blanche Ely, who my high school is named after. Mary McLeod Bethune from Bethune-Cookman. There's so many women, right, that are part of our history. By the way, when you talk about Esther Roll, right, who's also from Blanche Ely, having to go through school only 3 months out of the year. The other time they were in the field, right, during those times in American history, but made it to Yale to study and onto TV. I mean, so many women have fought their way and struggled. But by the way, they bring their families with them, right? They bring their communities with them. Mm-hmm. They never leave them behind. The Black woman, just those Black women that are close to us, or close to our communities, we see the strength, And so I think that really men, all we have to do is look around us, right? Start with the womb that we came out of, right? And think about the in our families, and who's really held us strong, and who have been the defenders. In our community, and those that have pushed us forward, but also, in business and in entrepreneurship, right? There's so many women, amazing entrepreneurs. I think we get it. I think that we get it. It's just this machismo thing. There's like a macho side to America, even as it's very, even masochistic, to be honest. But, that, by the way, you have to recognize that permeates, right, through all of our cultures. So it doesn't matter regardless of color as a male. And but we're not that far away from the truth, right? So I think we get it, I think we do get it. And sometimes maybe women, maybe you all have to remind us.
I think too, Corey, it's those kitchen table talks. It's those kitchen table talks, it's those family meetings and all of that. And then to be honest, there are some religions,
talk to me, sister,
that don't allow women to be leaders. They want us to sit down, put our head on. I've gone to churches, I'm a pastor, ordained, all of that. And there are times that they won't even let me stand up in the pulpit. Thank God I'm a part of the Methodist Church, and I'm a ministerial staff at St. Mark. But we still got a lot of work to do in that arena.
Well, today, 22 days to the election that we're hoping to nominate our 47th president, a woman, or 47th president, a woman, Kamala Harris. I think we have the work ahead of us. You know,
Yes.
I'm also saying that here in the state of Florida, where we have elected so many of our legislators are women. Right now, we have a Senate, our Senate candidate, a woman in MacArthur Powell, who's running to replace and to eradicate one who's been there, who's restricted us from so many challenges. Women, people, those of us who have health challenges, he was one of those who basically ripped off the insurance money.
A medical predator.
We just don't. Nobody's talking about it. You know, nobody said that. We don't hear these conversations. One of the things that the Republican Party has done successfully is to prey on our fears and to touch into the little areas of our inability. You know, almost this attack on our immigrant status, for example, touching on the weakest, reaching at the last group of immigrants and Haitians who are coming to the United States. This is this is within our generations, within the last 5 decades. This is the last of a large group of people moving to the United States. It is the Haitians. Before it was the Irish, it was the there were so many people who were attacked from this kind of migration coming to the United States. But let me just say this. I think one of the things that we need to counter right now within our spaces, not just tabletops, but any kind of groups we have, communal, anything we're involved in, is to remind folks, not only the respect of your mothers, right? Not only to respect your former teachers, but we need to tell folks that what Donald Trump is doing is preying on your insecurities. He's doing mind games with you Black people. He's doing mind games with the voters who's telling you that he's so macho, right? It's the macho attack that he's also pulling. And let us be clear. This guy has been known to be a bully, but he's never fought a battle of his own. Let us just be clear. This guy he's talking about giving you economic freedom when he is the master of bankruptcies. He's talking about relationships. You show me one person. Let's back up. I've known you all for over 10 years. How many acquaintances does Donald Trump have from a public space that we could see him having a long-term relationship? They're all gone. Not even in his cabinet. Nobody's there to support this guy. So why do you think that a guy who's had so many failed occurrences, so many failed relationships, there are at least 10 lawyers who've been in his space who are now convicted felons? There are now so many outside of his immediate family. There's no alliance. So why would you attach yourself to a leader who basically has never, ever protected any of us? And that's the kind of conversation we need to be having with the people in our space. We all have conservative friends, and a lot of them are feeling so embarrassed because of his conduct, but embarrassed because they can't believe so many of their other smart people are supporting this guy again. And they're here on the Democratic Party side. And so I'm saying this afternoon, this morning, wherever you are in the world, afternoon, some places, but I know many of you have already voted because we have ballots. There are people across the country who've already started to vote. Early voting starts here on the 21st. Is that correct, Corey, in the state of Florida?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, Monday, the 21st. Many places, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Right.
And most libraries, especially.
We're saying to you folks that do not procrastinate. I know many of you are voting from Democrats abroad. Remember your ballots. What we don't want to have happen, I'm saying this, and I'm saying this with all hope. It is important this race is not a close race. I believe if we really vote with our hearts where we are today, that this could really be a landslide victory for Kamala Harris. If we vote. If we vote. You know, you're hearing it's this close, it's this tight. Listen, remember that is also part of the narrative to distract you and to stop you from going to vote because it won't matter. Am I right, Dr. Pam?
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's to tell you, don't, your vote is not going to matter, it won't count. But we live in Florida, we're a 1-point state of victory. It was 30,000 votes. Isn't that correct, Corey?
That's
Why?
it. I mean, it's a very, it's a
Your-
slim margin.
Your vote matters. It
But again,
counts.
listen, +1. That's all that it takes to make
Plus
sure that we
one.
can,
Plus
you know,
one.
live
Plus one.
free of mass deportations and of a president that would continuously ridicule us, and you just would have no idea of what they would do. But if going back to our religions, by the way, I mean, in the Muslim religion, in Islam itself, there's so many women that have been strong, and the Muslim community in Florida. I mean, we look to like an Anna Eskamani, right? Locally here, and Naima Kangani, and Sister Nuha. There's so many that are just leaders, right? And so I want people to recognize that in the Muslim community, just like any other community, women really are the backbone of not only our families, but our businesses and our communities. And I think that, when it comes to Donald Trump, there's this sensationalism that's taken place. I think he really is our first reality show president, right? President Obama you're talking about a professor, somebody who's extremely learned, was very experienced. So that was not like some kind of sensationalism. This was somebody who was very much a part of our Ivy League institutions, as well as our Midwest and almost our every state mentality, and also had a global view. Donald Trump really is the first kind of reality show president. So what we're seeing is when people don't feel confident, when they're unsure, they're not informed, these are the type of decisions that are made. I think that we need to just push forward with more voter information, more voter confidence, let them realize, what the choices are in how to vote, even how to deliver their vote, whether it's voting by mail, which gets you the ballot early, right? So you're able to look things up, or early voting, knowing that, hey, on the 21st or any of those days, there aren't any lines. Go ahead and vote, most likely at your library, right? And then, of course, by November 5th to get their vote in. So I really think it's about information and confidence will overcome this.
Well, I also think we need to remind folks of what is at stake. And so, like you said, within your own faith, Donald Trump has promised to one of the first persons he said he would be getting out of this country was he's going to get rid of all the Muslims. He was going to get rid of every Muslim. He's going to deport. Mass deportation is a promise of Donald Trump. When he said on his first day he would become a dictator, we cannot take this lightly. We need to apply the same. We need to be real talking to people. On this program, on The Voice of Florida, your voice is your choice. We speak it from the heart. This is not about anybody's role. This program is an independent forum where we exercise our First Amendment. So here you can say anything. What happens on The Voice of Florida is from us, not any organization we represent, but your own voice. And so today I'm saying to everyone in our hearing, we got a few recommendations. We want you to remember that if here's a guy who's holding the Bible, where the word of God, which we have not seen him in a church yet. If anyone can tell me you saw Donald Trump going to church, I don't even know if he got, this is within every campaign cycle, I've never seen him there. And the only time I saw him close to a church was when he stood outside and held the Bible upside down. And then he was selling Bibles with his name on it. Listen to me, folks. You have to understand that when you hear mass deportation, not just mass deportation, but he has also said he's getting ready to impose our own national guards within our society. He's gone ahead to suggest that he will have Gestapo-like officers to help with immigration positioning. And the biggest part that we've all overlooked is hearing him saying that he will also have camps. What does that tell you, folks? I don't know of us doing any mass deportation. I don't see any budget procured to do mass deportations. So what does that mean? Where are we going to hold these people? In camps? Until you figure out how you're going to deport these millions of people? And so we have to stop. And remember what he said, it was the Haitians, the Black people are going to go back to their S-hole countries. Let us be clear, folks. When you move Black people from America, who do you have left back here? That is the concern that we all need to understand. What has this body moving, this racist, anti-Semitic, everything that is known to be against the American dream, this vision of the United States. It is critical. I know We're going to be wrapping up in a few minutes, at least in a minute. But let me just say this. We have an opportunity on this program today. I'm going to give you 30 seconds each to really just say your piece, and then I'll close out. We have a few
alert
seconds.
from device enrollment.
That's our alert. Please, Pam, tell me what your thoughts are before we close out, please, Dr. Pam.
Well, my thoughts are this. The Bible says that my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And with all the information, Doctor, that you have brought today, along with Corey, the Honorable Corey, King Corey, it is very imperative that our people read and understand. You know, they used to say back in the day, if you put it in a book, we won't read it. But we need to read, we need to understand, we need to listen, because when we begin to do that, we begin to have power. And without knowledge, there is no power. So all I gotta say is this: we can win this election with the first woman president of the United States of America. This is all I have to say.
Thank you.
My dad used to tell me this all the time. Somebody said it couldn't be done, but she would have chuckled, replied that maybe it could. She'd be one who wouldn't say no till she tried. So we need to buckle right in with a bit of a grin, and if we weren't, we need to hide it. And we need to start to sing as we tackle the thing that they say can't be done. And let's go do it. Let's get Kamala Harris as our next president of the United States of America.
Thank you so much, my sister. Corey, 10 seconds, please.
Same. Okay. Yeah, just really, I think, let's go and vote. This is really, crucial election. Whether you say wagwan or sakpase or, fixin' or funa or whatever, any kind of different language spoken, tikanis, even for Greeks, by the way, komastaka. If we have a president who wants to deport, we all could be called into question just for using our colloquial English and different ways of speaking. We don't want to go down that road. We do not want that, America.
So in 22 days, my listening audience here, I want to thank you again for tuning in to this Voice of Florida, where your voice is our choice. Today's call, as you could mention, I want to thank our two guests, Dr. Pam Powell and the Honorable Corey Scherer, for joining us here on the Voice of Florida. We will continue this discussion. However, in leaving today on this program, 22 days into this election cycle, my call to you today is to be encouraged, to be enlightened, to continue to protect your love and your neighbors, and remember to vote. As soon as your ballot hits, start filling out those ballots, because early voting starts in the state of Florida on October 21st. October 21st is your first early voting date. Keep faith alive, keep hope alive, and continue to hold each other up here on this program, The Voice of Florida. We love you. We thank you for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you next week, where your voice is our choice. God bless you.
Welcome to our TV network, your ultimate destination for all things exciting and essential. From mouth-watering food to the latest in fashion, health, education, music, movies, and news, plus thrilling sports and breathtaking travel, our TV network brings it all to you. Tune in today and experience the best of every world, all in one place, RTV.network.
Hey.
Well, go on.
All right. So I don't know if you were paying attention. You notice Corey he was perfect. He was fine. He didn't buffer. He didn't do anything. And there was something going on with both your connection and Dr. Powell. I'm not sure what was happening, but clearly there was an internet issue.
Mm-hmm.
I know sometimes I don't know where you are, but some hotels don't always have the best connection.
Probably.
If you're in a hotel. And so you were having the same problem. And I just wanted to let you know that if you notice, Corey didn't have any issue. He was fine. He was streaming fine. He was flawless. And so if future shows, you gotta make sure that yourself and other guests, are in to do the live show. Obviously you can record, but it's not gonna look good that, we're doing a show and the frame is sticking a lot.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you really want to re-air this again tonight, but that's your call.
How was it bad?
Oh, the sticking, both you and Powell. Oh yeah, it was. You guys were sticking every other second. And that's why I put up the three profile so you could see Corey was fine. He didn't freeze, he didn't buffer, nothing.
All right.
So what I'm saying to you, I know you said you want to be brought at 9 o'clock, but I'm saying it's the presentation is not, at least visually, it's not going to come across good at all.
Sorry. All right. So you have company man. You have a little apprentice with you this morning.
Go ahead, say that again.
You have your apprentice with you this morning. You look a friend. I hear you look audience.
Okay. I mean, listen. Yeah, listen. That's your call. I mean, I can't tell you. You're trying to, you're trying to build a brand. Obviously, you're trying to build a product, and so it's your call.
All right, we're gonna give it to them only because they asked for it, and I want to make sure that we already knew that she was having a problem with hers. I have the device you told me to buy, the portable thing, and it's
but even with that though, you still always have to the ISP, the communication company, if they're not in, if you're outside of their strong connection area, that sometimes doesn't work either. So you got to always do a test, a pre-check to make sure that everything is working the way it's supposed to. So
that's my fault. So we're late this morning, but let's give it to them anyway. I'll make an apology if anything happens. I think we kind of did that earlier. It was techno traveling, only because I promised it was going to be done to give it.
All right, I'll air it 9 o'clock tonight.
All right.
All right, cool.
All right. Who said bye-bye? Bye.